Our final inductee this evening is Fred Zimmerman. Zimmerman was a force on both sides of the ball, including 3 different defensive positions for the Rockets from 1963 to 1965. Zimmerman started out as a linebacker in his sophomore season, then moved to middle guard as a junior, making 138 tackles. But Zimmerman really came into his own as a senior at defensive end, leading the team with 157 tackles and earning first-team All-MAC honors and the Nicholson Award as the Rockets' MVP. Zimmerman also was a standout on the offensive line, often playing as many as 50 minutes in a game. He was drafted by the AFL's Houston Oilers and the NFL's Atlanta Falcons in 1966. Zimmerman later signed with the St. Louis Cardinals. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Fred Zimmerman into the University of Toledo Varsity T Hall of Fame.
Thank you. You know, I've thought about changing my last name. Whenever your name starts with a Z, you're always the last one every place you go. I might start it with an A or a B. That way I get a better chance to be first. I'd like to mention that many of the comments that I make tonight are intended to be taken at an attempt at humor. I see a lot of my old friends here in the audience tonight, and I mean really old friends. I see Willie Loper. And Willie has gained so much weight that since the last time I saw him, when I met him today at Arnie's restaurant, I thought he was Bill Hayes. When I got my football bonus in 1966, I decided to buy a new car. I bought a new car and gave my 1956 Chevrolet to a fine young man, Willie Loper, under the 3 conditions that he get license plates, registration, and title for the car. Willie, it's been 42 years, and I still get letters from the Ohio Department of Transportation asking when you're going to transfer the license plates, the title, and the registration. I see that my friend Dan Simrel isn't here tonight because he's on an airplane going over to coach football in Italy. The last time I attended a varsity T program, I made mention of the fact that because Dan Simrel was so tall and so thin that they gave him a scholarship to the University of Toledo. They wanted to use him for the flagpole at the north corner of the stadium. Dan, I apologize, I shouldn't have said that. I meant the northwest corner of the stadium. You know, one time, our oldest son, Eric, and I came up to watch a football game in Toledo. We were in the locker room, and Dan came in with quite a group of recruits and a lot of parents. Dan recognized me, introduced me, and he said, of all the football players I've ever recruited, of all the fellows I've played football with, you are absolutely the toughest football player I've ever met. Suddenly I realized that Dan Simrel wore glasses and he had 20/200 vision. He was legally blind. I also see Dr. Lurley Archambault in the audience, and myself and many others like me like to get some credit for pushing Lurley into the field of medicine, especially psychiatry, as many of us in the dormitory gave him a perfect environment to practice his future occupation. Even some of the coaches contributed to that. Isn't that right, Frank? I'd like to take a quick minute to tell a story about my favorite football coach, Coach Jack Murphy. He recruited me to come to the University of Toledo to play football and get an education, and I've thanked him many a times for that. You know, Coach Murphy was quite an athlete at Heidelberg. In '54, he was all conference. I checked, and I don't know if that was 1854 or 1954. He's also in their Hall of Fame. One day during defensive practice, I looked up and Coach Murphy came running across the field, zigzagging, and had a football under his arm. He came over to the defensive unit. He stopped in front of Ray Hayes, who was a mean defensive tackle. He looked at me and he said, "You two guys aren't tough enough. I'm going to toughen you guys up to make you lean, mean fighting machines. I'm going to teach you a lesson on how to play football. Coach Murphy said, I'll play quarterback, and you two guys come and get me. And I said, are you sure, Coach Murphy? He said, damn straight, I can handle that. I said, okay, you asked for it. Well, I looked over at Ray Hayes, and he was foaming at the mouth. The ball was snapped, and quick as a flash, I had a hold of Coach Murphy. As he was falling backward toward the ground, the football flew one direction, his glasses flew another direction. He had the most terrified look of fear on his face on anyone I've ever seen. His hat flew off, and I accidentally, on purpose, stepped on it. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Ray Hayes rip the shirt right off of Coach Murphy's back. Well, the play was over. Coach Murphy scraped himself off the ground, dusted the dirt off, put on what was left of his shirt, his glasses, and his hat. He looked at Ray, then he looked at me, and he said, I ain't never going to play quarterback with you two thugs again. He left. We didn't see him for several days, and I heard rumors he was in rehab for 1 full week. Those are the things that you remember, the challenges in football. Coach Lauderberg called me several weeks ago, and he said I had 30 seconds left of college football eligibility. Well, that was a great thrill because I wanted to use them up. So I decided that I would get in training, and I've been training for several weeks. The thing I liked about football was being on the suicide squad, which we all know that's a kickoff team. You know, the danger is there, the adrenaline flows, the challenge is there, because someone always wants to knock you on your back, hit you from the side, or in today's game, they hit you from behind. Well, I thought when Marilyn and I moved to North Carolina, we decided we'd play a lot of golf. So I thought if I ever get a hole-in-one, that'd really be a thrill like I used to get running down the field and making a tackle on the kickoff. However, no one knocked you down in golf. There really wasn't any danger, so it was kind of fun. I played golf a little like I played football. I did have a hole-in-one last year. I had a tee shot over the water, through the woods, over Grandma's house. It hit about 5 foot in front of the hole and went in the hole for a hole-in-one. Well, you know, it wasn't the thrill I thought it'd be, because there was no danger involved. My life wasn't in danger. The adrenaline didn't flow. It really wasn't a thrill. The biggest thrill I got out of a hole-in-one was when I found out that I had to pay $350 to buy drinks for everybody. Every athlete has one last wish, and mine is to use up my 30 seconds left of college football eligibility to volunteer to be on the opening kickoff of Toledo's first football game next year. I recall by watching game films, I would know which defensive player was coming across the field to block me as I ran down the field. Well, if you get by the first guy, you should be home free. However, the adrenaline pumps up, you run as fast as you can, and you make it by the first guy. Then all of a sudden, you look up, and there's a wall of 4 people side by side coming down the field in a wedge, and they want to hurt you. Or they want to hurt me. So right away, the adrenaline kicks in, the fear factor goes off the board, and you say to yourself, well, maybe I should pick the guy in the end, knock him down, or break through the seam, or just run right over the first couple guys. Well, I ran right through the wedge, and the first thing I did immediately was to look down to see if all my body parts were still attached. Then all of a sudden you look up, and here comes a guy running a football right at you. Well, the adrenaline kicks in, the fear factor's right back, and you have to make the tackle. To me, that's the greatest thrill that I could experience in life. We used to call that wedge the Legion of Doom. And I tell you, if you get caught in the wrong situation, it was doom. But the thrill was something that was unbelievable. Well, as I said, Next year, I'd like to come back and use up my 30 seconds of college football eligibility. The only problem is that it's going to have to be a 20-yard kickoff, because at my age and my condition, that's as far as I can run. Thank you to everyone who had anything to do with my induction into the Varsity Hall of Fame. I appreciate it.
Once again, congratulations to O.C. Burt, Mel Miller, John Ross, Steve Schnicke, Greg Stempen, Mike Tippenauer, Sarah Fagoti, Colin Westrich, Don Whiting, and Fred Zimmerman. How about another round of applause for all our inductees tonight? Thank you for all coming tonight. Don't forget, there's 2 ball games tomorrow, and we'll see these fine honorees tomorrow at the UT game. The men's game starts at noon against Kent State, and the women will take on those ladies from Wood County at 2:30 at Savage Hall, and it's Go Rockets tomorrow. Thank you, one and all, for coming tonight.
Here are your 2008 Varsity T Hall of Fame inductees. Tonight's first inductee is football and baseball player O.C. Burt. O.C. was named All-Mid-American Conference as a running back in football in 1958 and 1959. He also led the baseball team in home runs and runs batted in as a senior. Ladies and gentlemen, O.C. Burt. Our next inductee, Mel Miller, was unable to attend today's game. Mel earned first-team All-Mid-American Conference honors as an offensive guard in football in 1968 and also set the school record in the pole vault. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mel Miller. Our next inductee is football player John Ross. John was named first-team All-Mid-American Conference as a senior in 1974 when he led the league with 77 receptions for 866 yards. He ranks 9th on UT's all-time list in career receptions with 124. Ladies and gentlemen, John Ross. Our next inductee is football player Steve Schnicke. Steve was a 2-time All-Mid-American Conference defensive lineman on the famous Rocket teams that went 35-0 and won 3 MAC championships and 3 Tangerine Bowl titles from 1969 to 1971. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Schnicke. Our next inductee, Greg Stempen, is in Europe playing professional basketball. Greg is one of 4 men's basketball players in UT history to earn first-team All-MAC honors 3 times. He ranks 4th all-time at UT in scoring with 1,705 points. Accepting today on Greg's behalf is Dick Estep. Our next inductee is baseball player Mike Timpenauer. Mike is among clear leaders in every pitching category at UT, including wins, no-hitters, innings pitched, and strikeouts. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Timpenauer. Our next inductee is women's track and cross-country runner Sarah Vergodi. Sarah was a 3-time All-Mid-American Conference selection, a 2-time NCAA qualifier, and a 3-time NCAA region team honoree in cross-country and track. She won the MAC championship in the 10,000 meters and was runner-up in 2 other events. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Vergodi. Our next inductee is football player Colin Westrich. Colin was a 3-time All-MAC offensive tackle from 1997 to 1999. As a senior, he was named 3rd team All-America by the Sporting News. Ladies and gentlemen, Colin Westrich. Our next inductee is baseball player Don Whiting. Don earned first team All-MAC honors in his senior season. hitting .394 with 62 hits, 13 doubles, and 46 runs batted in. His lifetime batting average is .334, which ranks 6th all-time at UT. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Whiting. Our final inductee this evening is football player Fred Zimmerman. Fred led the Rockets with 157 tackles as a senior, earning first-team All-Mid-American Conference honors and winning the Nicholson Award as the Rockets' most valuable player. Zimmerman also was a standout on the offensive line. Ladies and gentlemen, Fred Zimmerman. Fans, let's all please show our appreciation for the 2008 inductees to the University of Toledo's Varsity T Hall of Fame.